Welcome to episode 115 of the Road is Dead podcast. I'm your host, Rob Curtis, joined in the studio today with
Leah Sanda.
And remotely we have
Tim Strelecki.
How's it all going? All right, week hangover from putting on our races last weekend. You mentioned it right before we went on about the shirt, that you should have worn the shirt. I wore the shirt. Mm-hmm. I am wearing the shirt today, but it's a little cold, so I'm going to zip back up.
I was like, I could run downstairs and put one on really quickly. Have some extra.
We had somebody apparently say that they refused to buy the shirt because they were a graphic designer, and they didn't like the placement of the heads on here.
I never even thought twice about it. It's two groundhogs.
Maybe it should have been up a little higher, but I don't know. Whatever.
It's
an awesome shirt. We still have a few available if you guys are looking for some. Probably not in the sizes that you're looking for. And if you're listening to this and you bought one and you didn't pick it up at the race, I mean, come on.
I think we're sold out of all size large unisex and sold out of women's mediums.
In men's mediums.
They don't have your size. Grab a poster.
Right.
We have XL and we have small and extra small
unisex, and then we have pretty much every women's size except smalls, I think.
So if you've been listening to the podcast, this is your opportunity to get some merch.
Oh, you just turned into like a real-time sports broadcaster. That was weird.
I used to do that a lot.
Yeah?
Not actually sports broadcasting, but I used to practice that a lot. I thought I might have a small career in 90s radio. So I used to say, I actually got a microphone. It's still over there, actually. I got a microphone with like a phono jack, and I plugged it into the back of my Creative Sound Blaster. That was the audio card on my little 486 SX33.
I would have loved to be in a fly on the wall to see all that happen.
And I would record little outtakes, and it was the more you basically swallow more and more and more of your voice and tongue, and just kind of make it more. It's a lot of fun, though. I don't know if I get into it, I'll give you some of it, but here I'll do a little bit with the buttonhole here. Be sure to, if you're a fan of the podcast, go ahead and buy some buttonhole chamois cream. Available at your finest retailers in the bicycle industry. Stop by your local shop and ask for it by name. Once again, buttonhole chamois cream.
Not bad. No. Not bad. I think it would have went somewhere if you kept at it.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. I announced for a few years, Luckily, I haven't had to do that because Kenny stepped up and taken care of everything. Because I assure you, I am not nearly as entertaining as Kenny, and I know that, and it's not even remotely a competition.
The great thing about Kenny, I mean, not only is his enthusiasm through the roof, but he doesn't take a break from talking.
Don't stop.
Like he just, it's unfathomable how he's just constantly talking. There's never like a or an o or a It's just straight up knowledge.
No crutch words. That's 100% correct.
Yeah, well, and he does that on purpose because he said something once about how that he thinks that a good announcer does not have any dead air. Just he needs to always be telling a story.
I mean, the only time he's dead air is like 30 seconds before the start. That's it.
Yeah. And even then, it's amazing. It's not really dead air. He's over talking to somebody, asking like where this is, where that is, what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So he's always working. He's always on. So he did 2 days this weekend. And for those of you that have ever been around Kenny after a race, it becomes readily apparent he has no voice left, usually. And it's very raspy, which is, crazy because he's still 100% full bore until he does the good night, everybody, turns it off.
Yep.
And then later he'll be sitting there at like dinner or something. He's just in the corner and just
exhausted.
Yeah,
just exhausted.
He'll be
do you remember, was it last year when we were sitting at dinner on Sunday night after the race and he was sitting next to Anthony and his voice was so gone that he would whisper in Anthony's ear the answer to any questions that somebody asked him because he couldn't.
He's got a translator.
So he had Anthony to like project answers for him and order the food and everything. It was
if a server comes by, he'll be like, do you have the cheese nuggets thingies? We'll take 3 plates of those.
The server's over there like, what's your friend's problem?
Right. Is that creepy guy coming on to me? What's going on?
It's like,
yes, but he also doesn't have a voice.
Right.
It's like Koothrappali from The Big Bang Theory. When he can't talk to women, he's got to go through Howard.
Yeah. Pretty much. I don't know, standouts from this weekend. I mean, we got we all have our own feedback from all of it, but we got tons of feedback. I did. I know you guys did as well too. Tons of feedback on the course. Course was amazing. That's basically all I heard. I heard the course is amazing. The course is hard, but great, and even better going the second day or second direction. Although I like the first day. I didn't race the second day, so I can't really give you feedback on that.
Yeah, I didn't race it either. I didn't do it at race pace. I did a couple pre-laps, and it was pretty good. Like I said, I think when I was doing those pre-laps, I found a few things that I learned to carry into next year as far as some of the entries and exits to some of the turns. But other than that, overall, 99% of that course was good. Both days, both directions. I was pretty psyched.
Yeah, that's all the feedback I heard too from the weekend. And part of you thinks, well, people will bitch, if they don't like it. And I never heard any of that. So
the only kind of complaint, and I wouldn't call it a complaining, but the only kind of complaining that I heard was people just basically saying it was too hard for them. But and if you go by the numbers, to jump into it,
pre-reg numbers.
Yeah, they always suck.
Mm-hmm.
We are the least attended race in the series, and everyone has a theory on that. Obviously, everybody who came out this weekend was like, "I don't get it. I don't understand it." It's like, yeah, well, because you came out. You didn't see that big of a.
What is your theory on it?
I've got a few. One of them is the kids in the city can't figure out how to get from point A to point B, and yet they do it for the rest of the series. Which
it's probably like the straightest line you could take.
Yeah. 90% of the series is in the suburbs, so that I kind of don't get. We added a second day, mainly to get reg numbers up, so that it gives people. It's like, okay, if there's going to be 2 days out there and they're both CCC, then maybe it makes sense. Go out there, grab a hotel room, stay for the night, make it a whole thing, and it's a single double weekend now. We used to have a single double weekend in the series, and now we do again. And I don't know if that brought any numbers up or not. Will say.
Do you happen to have an idea, percentage-wise, how many people raced both days out of the 700?
No, I don't have any solid numbers. I would have to go and look. A lot did one day or the other. If I had to guess, I'd say, 15, 20% were one day only, as opposed to the other day. Which is interesting because we were about 10% below on our largest day, which was Sunday. We were about 10% below what pre-reg was for the previous year. Pre-reg and reg are now the same if you go look at the numbers because what we do is we close out, give it enough time to assign numbers, do staging, all that kind of rigmarole, get it into the reg files, get that emailed over, and then I go back in and reopen registration. So you're able to pre-reg, or even if you're going to do day of, you're doing it through bike reg for 99.9% of the people that show up. There's always a few that can't figure it out. So when you do that and you go back and you look at like an old event and you say who's registered, that's going to be your total count that went through between pre-reg and registration. So there's a lot of things that pollute the data if you're trying to do any data mining on any of this. But in general, what I found though was that I was open for 700 over the weekend, and that was my guess. I figured 300 on Saturday and 400 on Sunday, pretty close to that. We were 320, 30 something on Saturday, and then we ended up like 360, 370 on Sunday, which brought us to 700 total for the weekend. So with that in mind, if it had been one day with a total of 700, would have been a great event. You know what I mean? It would have been one of the best attended races in the series. it was a great event. I don't want to say it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I was about to say attendance. It was a fantastic event.
Yeah, in terms of attendance.
Yeah.
The all said and done, I think. But the nice part about it for me is that by doing it like that, even though we cut our individual day attendance slightly, about 10% or so, between the 2 days, we got enough people showing up that we have the income for the event that's pretty similar to what a regular CCC race would be. So, in other words, I say pretty similar because, yeah, there's, I think, more top line that comes in, but we now have a whole additional day of officials, food for volunteers, cops, payouts, which is $2,000 right there. And not to mention the USAC rider insurance fees and everything else, those double, everything kind of doubles. So there's a lot of expenses in there, but I think between the two, we edge out and we're almost like a normal CCC event by having the 2 days out there. All that could change if everybody makes plans to show up and do both days. I'm a little biased, but I think I always say my favorite race of the series and whatever. My favorite race of the series is ours by far. And I think we've got one of the best venues, one of the best terrain to work with. And
hands down. This year,
I think we really nailed the layout to it. It was a nice mix of everything, and it had a lot of very hard sections, and it was a short lap. It gave me racing it, and somebody else mentioned this to me. Somebody was like, this is kind of like racing at Trek. Obviously, we don't have the flyovers and the obstacles and stuff like that. But in terms of the laps being short enough and you're hitting these like things that challenge you on every lap in that kind of frequency, I got the same feeling when I was racing it. So for those that, give me a hard time, say I haven't raced it, I raced it on Saturday. Tried to race on Sunday, but it's a lot. I know, Leah, you planned on racing the whole weekend and didn't even get out there.
I honestly, I gave it about a 25% chance of me actually getting on a bike, and that it didn't happen either day, which I wasn't surprised by and I was okay with.
Yeah. I think for me, after the full throttle Friday setup and doing all that and making sure we were all dialed in, and then we get in the hotel, not getting a great night's sleep, getting up super early, Saturday, being there, prepping the course, making sure it was race ready. And then like all the pre-riding I did, I was like, my legs are not bad. Like let's do this. So I, raced Saturday. Saturday was good. About what I expected, third place legs. It's about all I had in me. And then Sunday, for some reason, I had every intent to race, but as the morning went on and I did more and more pre-laps, and my legs were super heavy. And I took three hard laps or 3 hard runs at the barrier going the opposite way, and I got it every time. And then when I was done, I went back and sat in the tent and damn near almost fell asleep. And I was like, yeah, no. I had a conversation with Darcy, and I was like, I'm not risking the future to race today.
I'm not surprised. you were like a helicopter mom, and the course was your baby the whole weekend. Tim, you were just like on it, and you were like there. Anytime there was issues, you were like Johnny on the spot the whole weekend. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna be tired, boy.
It takes a lot out of you. It takes so much out of you.
Go ahead. Sorry, Rob.
No, from the steps perspective alone, I do want to pull mine up.
Dude, I think I had 24,000, 25,000 on Friday.
Oh, geez, I didn't. I must delegate.
I mean, you walked the whole course, Rob, right?
I did multiple times. But,
I was course tape marshal both days, and majority more so. I think my mindset was like, we have a great thing going on. We nailed it Saturday. I want to keep that vibe and that same feeling for Sunday. I'm just going to make sure the integrity of our race stays intact. Yeah. And
obviously we all must suck because Anthony was out there busting his butt all weekend and got on the podium both days.
Yeah, both days. Won on Sunday.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Although this is the one year where he didn't hang out with me on Saturday night and drink with me. So,
well,
he wanted to race.
Maybe you should take a page out of his book.
I know I did on Friday, and I was able to race on Saturday morning, and it was awesome.
Now, what if he did that on Saturday?
I get it.
No, you don't, because if you got it, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but Saturday night, it's after a long day of doing everything. You
still succumbing to peer pressure.
Yeah, it's not peer pressure. It's just internal pressure.
Take this drink, Rob. Got fucking Jimmy just putting Modelo's in your face.
It's sitting down for a meal, and the first thing they ask is if you want something to drink, and it's like, yes, absolutely.
Water.
On Friday, I did about 21,000 steps.
Nice. Nice.
Saturday, I only did 17.5, but I raced for 40 minutes. That doesn't count in there. And then Sunday, I did just over 20,000 steps.
Yeah.
So not. I always have way fewer than Leah, but I think she paces back and forth between Reg and the start-finish line all day.
Yeah, I'm like running errands and answering questions and delivering wrenches to officials and helping run stuff up and down the hill for paperwork. And
I kept walking the course and going out towards the woods. I was out in the woods a few times, going out to the pits quite a bit, running around checking the ridge side, to see how that was going. The tape was still in one piece. And then every now and then I go into the tent, and I made the mistake of sitting down the tent maybe 3 times on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I sat down. I was so cold, and I had to heat up. So I got in front of the heater.
Mm-hmm.
Or I got next to the heater. I sat down for a minute. I grabbed some aminos to drink, and I was just sitting there. And at one point, I thought I heard Parker's voice, so I thought he was pretty sure that he'd shown up. And then I got up. It may have been 5 minutes that I took a quick nap, but it was long enough for you to grab a picture and post it online. So
I did. I couldn't.
I missed that.
I could not. You looked so peaceful. I was like, this is a well-deserved little cat nap here.
It was a good little cat nap. It was like 5 minutes, maybe 10.
The tent was quiet. It was warm. There was you were sitting there the only thing missing was your cup of hot cocoa, and you would have been this would have been the perfect Christmas card photo.
Yeah, I had to mainline 5-hour energies on Sunday, and that shit is magic.
Oh yeah,
I swear to God, I was dialed all day. Had so much smooth energy and focus, and because I literally could not function. I woke up Sunday morning, and I'm like, oh shit, I got another day of this. I was just a wreck. I'm like, I can't.
Sunday morning, I woke up and I was like, man, I feel just as terrible as I used to feel when I was an alcoholic and having a hard night of drinking. I was like, and I've had nothing but water. Why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
And that was the thing. I didn't even, I've been known to put a bender on the night before our race or what have you, or the night, what would have been Saturday night. And I didn't. I drank, fairly conservatively for me over many hours. Mm-hmm. And felt fine going to bed, but it doesn't matter. It's enough to make you feel exhausted, to make your stomach feel all weird, and I just could not get going. Yeah. And it didn't help that I didn't know what time everybody was getting there on Sunday, so I just got there at 5:15 again. In the chat. And so I was sitting out there at 5:15 going, geez, I could have slept for another hour. I could have used that sleep.
I went out to the car Sunday morning, or super early, to load it up, and I saw that your vehicle was still there, and I'm like, oh, that's good. Leah, your truck was still there too. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I went back in to grab another bag to load the car up, and your car was gone. I was like, Rob, your car was gone. I'm like, oh boy. And then I started getting panic mode. I'm like, I'm late. And then George is like, calm down.
I flipped out also because I was like, I'm not going to make it at 5:15 because I still wanted to grab something quick to eat, and then I still had fuel cans in the car that I had to fill up for the day. And I'm like, do I really need? Yeah, if I don't fill them up, we're going to run out of fuel during the day. Mm-hmm. So I made a point. I had to go over and fill all those up, and by the time I ended up getting over there, I was like, I'm going to be late, but everyone's just going to have to deal with it. And then I pull in, and it's pitch black.
Yeah.
There is no one. And I see one car there, and I'm like, they weren't backed in. but it had me thinking maybe this is some illicit hookup that I need to stay away from. And I didn't recognize the car, and I'm sitting there, and I pull into a spot, and I'm just kind of letting the engine idle and stay warm for a bit. And then I turn it off, and all of a sudden I get a text message, and it's from Brad. Brad Dash and it's a picture of the course, like staging, showing me that the lines were still there. And I was like, oh crap, that was Brad's car. Brad's been here. And I think it was the night before. I was like, yeah, we're gonna be there at like 5:15, man. I'll see you then.
Oops.
So he got there before I did. So
yeah, I was up at 4:30, but I was doing all the reg stuff in the morning, and I think I had the truck packed. I had everything printed, everything stuffed, everything set up by like 5:30, and then loaded everything in the truck, and then went and got coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And
same
there.
Yeah,
I can't. Oh, I don't know what it is. It's like I cannot sleep in a hotel. I would sleep in a hotel like a rock when I was younger. I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. And I will wake up like 100. Yeah. I bring my own pillows now. And
so do I.
Even for this last weekend, just to make it even, I have a fan at home that I run when I sleep. I brought the fan so it would be running.
Even with that. The sheets they use are not breathable. I sweat my ass off in those sheets.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the menopause doesn't help either.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I turned the fan on in the room just on the AC
for me,
unit,
I don't know about you.
just as a fan, just for white noise. Yeah.
I mean, other than that, I mean, I think I slept-ish for the most part. But
Saturday into Sunday, I slept better than Friday into Saturday for sure. I think just from being tired, and then Friday to Saturday was like the anticipation of it all. Like, we put a good product out there. Let's hope everyone enjoys it. So,
I was worried about the rain.
I mean, all that said, I would do it all over again. The rain would have made that course it would have been epic.
Yeah, it definitely would have.
I mean, granted, I would have been fixing a lot more course tape.
The wind, holy cow.
Yeah,
that was
the wind was bad. The wind was bad.
It wasn't for a long time. It was like, maybe an hour that it was really bad? Less?
No, it kicked up during the 3/4s, I think.
It kicked up, and then it went through a short period of like super bad.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of started to calm down.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of windy, but not like rip your tents.
I think
flying
between the
windy.
3/4s and the women's 1-2, that's when it hit hard. And then for like the men's 1-2-3, it kind of died down. It was still there, but it died down. A couple tents.
But it was enough to send a tent flying into your car and into the trailer that was there. Which is, we still don't know whose tent that was, and I'm sure they're not going to own up to it. But
I know. And they were, I had a nice. They were very cool about it. They felt really bad. He gave me his name and number and everything.
Last time I saw that happen, the person that owned the tent ducked out and tried to.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. No. I mean, it's not the tent. The person who had the tent, they're not really. I mean, it could have been a tree branch. I mean, shit goes flying in the wind. It's an act of God.
I won't say there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it after the fact, but
it's always something you can do beforehand.
This is my platform here. If you're going to bring a tent out to an event, make sure it's adequately tied down. And I'm going to give you a hint: any stakes through any foot pad on any of these tents is not enough. It's not going to do it.
You need the screw in dog.
You got to. What we use is those
ratchet straps.
The dog screw ins. There's the big pieces, the corkscrew, and it's got a triangle on the top, and they're made to be screwed into a yard, and then you hook a dog leash to it, so the dog can have a dog run outside. And they sell those at Home Depot. They sell them at Harbor Freight. They sell them at a bunch of places.
Pet supply stores.
Yeah. And we get them, we screw them into we screw them in by the corners, and then we use ratchet tie-down straps, decent ones, that are always on sale at Home Depot. This is not an ad for Home Depot. I just live next to one.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, no. And you just hook them over the frame, and you hook it down on the tie-down, and then you ratchet it down all four corners. If we have two tents together, we wrap the poles together and then ratchet it down. So... it was funny because when the wind was kicking up and some tents went flying, one tent went flying, they should have known a lot better. And that tent was full of people, but they figured it out after the fact. But it's like, here's the thing. If you ever show up to an event and you're like, the wind's not that bad, we shouldn't have to tie it down. Just tie it down, because it's going to take you 3 minutes to tie it down. And that way you avoid situations like this where it goes flying and, God, worst case, it hits something or hurts somebody.
I mean, we were fortunate that the damage that it did was pretty minor, and it was not to, it was to my truck, which is an old truck. It's already got some dents in it, and to a trailer that's going to be easy to patch. So we were fortunate that nobody got hurt and it didn't go through somebody's windshield.
Yeah.
Or something.
But, tie down your tents.
Yeah.
They're a heavy investment. You might
My
as well
tent took a flyer at Wheeling one year. And I had it tied down, but I had like the cheap comes with the tent stakes before I invested in all the equipment you just discussed.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
That's a necessity. And it's interesting when we go to regional races and stuff like that, we'll pop our tents out and do our regular setup, and people just stare at us. They're like, what are they doing? But it's to give you an idea. I've been through enough of this kind of stuff that, and I've had tents destroyed. I've been through enough of it that, when this was happening and a couple tents went flying, I didn't even flinch because I knew our stuff was fine. It's like, even with sidewalls on it, and it's like, it's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. If it goes anywhere, it will literally implode. The structural aluminum in it will disintegrate.
Like Jingle Cross.
Like Jingle Cross, the year that we had the microburst and we destroyed all of our tents. Yeah.
They didn't go anywhere, but they just collapsed
into a twisted mess.
Structural failure.
Yeah. And we don't have those wimpy tents. We've got the biggest tents you can find. So
I heard rumblings that Jingle Cross might be coming back.
Where did you hear that? Because that popped up somewhere in one of the 8 billion podcasts I listened to.
I don't recall, but I heard rumblings that it might return, which would be fantastic.
I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
That race was awesome.
Yeah.
So hard.
It was awesome. I don't know. I was about to say, I don't know if you can recapture the enthusiasm that was there, but you could very easily.
It wouldn't be as big as it was in Cross's heyday, but I think it would be awesome to have it come back.
If it came back and it was on Thanksgiving weekend again, I'm there.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
I think there's a lot of people in the cross community nationwide that would love to have that race back.
Dude, not even just nationwide. I mean, internationally.
Midwest. Yeah, internationally, yeah.
Maglia Rochette on her podcast in the last week or two was talking about Jingle and how much she loved it and how awesome it was and all that. It is interesting because that's actually where I first met her. She got in a wreck and rung her bell pretty good on the night race day. And somehow I can't remember how it came about, but I was able to use Twitter and communicate with, I believe, David about where she was and what was going on. And we were able to get over there just as quick as anybody else was because we were in the pits at the time.
Nice.
But I don't remember the specifics, but I just remember she got hurt.
Night race.
Yeah, that night race. Oh, in terms of night races?
There's been some discussion. What's the thought?
I would love a night race. I think a night race would be awesome.
In the park?
Yeah, at our park?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got, there's baseball there, so they have lights.
Yeah, we couldn't do the whole course. We couldn't do
No, you just take the woods out. But... You could take the woods out, and then you could just, if you could, take the course from where the off camber was and where the snow fencing and everything is, and just blow it out down in that hollow a little bit, and then bring it back up. You can take the whole.
It'll
woods
be interesting
section
to
out.
see what the lights for that playground are going to end up being like.
I think a night race would be so awesome.
We should go out there at night. We should go out there at night sometime and just see what it's like.
I'm not saying a lot about that because my gut instinct is no on a night race. Yeah. Only from the standpoint of it's been done in Chicago many years ago, but it was done. Golf Farm. They had what they call it, Spooky Cross or something. Not Spooky Cross. That's an actual race. Not that this wasn't, but
yeah, but that was then. This is now.
Cyclocross. Yeah. It was Cyclocross. And I think that was the night version. So they would race on Friday night. They had a Saturday race, and then they tore everything down. And Sunday morning was Carpentersville.
That's right.
So And they had it, so they were on a driving range, and they had the night race. They had heavy equipment with lights, plus they had the lights for the driving range, and they kept it all in the driving range. And they had glow in the dark golf balls and stuff and associated with it somehow. But the one thing that stuck with me is no one would do it. Their numbers for that were so small that it was crazy.
It was a really small race, and they had people could tent camp there on the grounds and stuff, but not many people went.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, we could do it, but it's a lot of production work for what
small
kind of
ROI. Very small ROI, if any.
I mean, if we were able to turn it into a big party, and really, really pump that and turn it into a number pickup party as well too, so people could come in and pick up their numbers that night. Give them another reason for doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe turn that into some sort of staging order kind of incentive. I don't know. Can't really do that. But
it'd be cool if you could find a venue that was having like an Oktoberfest bash and then, do it over there. So the Oktoberfest is incorporated in with the race.
That was Carpentersville.
Yeah.
For a lot of years.
That was
when they were in
before my
Carpenter
time.
Park. They were in Carpenter Park and they had an Oktoberfest beer garden going as a part of the community, and they had a fair of some sort.
They had all the women dressed up in their German
Drendels. Yep.
Yeah, dancing, dance routines.
Not that I know what the name of those are.
It was really cool. It was fun.
Wow.
I celebrate my German heritage. I've only got a little bit of German heritage, but it's in there.
So, anyway, back to Jingle Cross. Hope it happens. What else is coming up?
I'd be there. What else is coming up?
Well, coming up, we've got this weekend in Wisconsin. I'm actually going to race in Wisconsin. Actually, all three of us are going to race in Wisconsin, aren't we?
Yeah.
Camrock. So making another journey over the cheese curtain. Hopefully my visa has been stamped and is extra sharp cheddar. No one. Cheese jokes crack me up. I'm sorry.
I don't eat cheese.
I know. Thanks.
It's you, Mr. Serious.
Yeah. I don't eat cheese.
I don't eat cheese. Binds me up something fierce.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Yeah, that's
so
a
you're
good
racing
one. If I don't think it'll be anything. It can't be anything like the mountain bike race. The mountain bike race there is super hard and technical, and this is in a different area of the park.
Yeah.
So
didn't look like it from that video. Whose video was it?
Michael Lambert on board POV, but it's a power course straight up.
That's what it looked like. It looked like it was. I mean, there was a lot of moments of them going 18, 19, 20, 21. So there's a lot of open sections, some descents, a little bit of climbing. Not a ton though. It looked as non-technical as you could possibly get.
Onboard POVs don't really do climbing
it's hard
justice.
And I get that.
Yeah.
I was looking at it going, that's why I wanted to get it up on a big screen. So we looked at it this morning when we got here at the shop. And I could see more of it on the big screen, and I'm glad I did it. But you can't tell until you get there.
Just look at the telemetry numbers.
That I was trying to do that while I was watching it. But
800. There's a hill.
Yeah.
800, another hill.
But I don't know, when he was coming out of corners, he was going, between 5 and 800 coming out of the corners. So it's like, I don't know if he's just accelerating there, if that's actually climbing, or is that sustained? Because it seemed like the telemetry wanted to round the numbers as they went up, it gave it some smoothing, which you would see it climb before they climbed. Like it was at 900 before they even started. You know, and it's like, it's trying to smooth that transition up and down. But Anthony mentioned it. He goes, it looks like an FTP test. And with that in mind, I actually wouldn't mind that. I could go for an FTP test. Every time I do that, it's do a race that's hard like that to get a new FTP anyway. So it's kind of nice. I'm looking forward to it. Also because I'm predicted to get 11th this time, I believe. So
nice.
I got 14th the last time, but I was predicted in 16th. Let's see if I can beat my prediction for this one. Although my points will suffer for it. I understand that, but I'm to the point where it's like, I mentioned this to you yesterday, Tim, but I'm at the point where I'm like, oh crap, the season's almost over and I don't want to stop racing. I still want to keep racing. I want to race as much as I can. So that's where a quick look, and Anthony mentioned that the race this week was up in Madison area, and I was like, all right, that's close enough. I can make it up there and do that Saturday and then go race Wheeling on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really care. I mean, I care about my race at Wheeling, but it's not. Anthony's more like, okay, I got one good effort. I won last week in the 4.5s and 35 plus. So I want to, focus on CCCs. I get that. I'm not there. I'm just there to get the racing in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to do the best that I can and have as much fun as I can by working as hard as I can, not in terms of just taking it easy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. You're doing the 3-4?
Yes.
You did not pre-reg, correct?
I spaced out that yesterday.
Yeah, they close on Wednesday nights. So.
I know. I looked at it today and it was like, oops, I missed it. So I will be a day of registration.
They don't have they have a $10 penalty, which I guess we do too.
Yeah,
don't forget your bib numbers.
About
that I was like, oh yeah, that. And then this morning as I was walking around, I'm like, where did I put that?
Don't forget it.
I have it. I keep it in my bag so I won't lose it.
Same.
When I've done it in the past, I've kept it in my bag, my gear bag, so that I've always got it. Yeah. And this morning I grabbed, I don't know about you guys, but when I get home from a race, I'll pull out all my gear and unpin my number for the day, throw all the pins on top of my dryer, and then throw the clothes in the washer. They're right as I come in the door, so it's easy to do it that way. This morning I looked at the dryer and I was like, oh, there's a lot of pins on that dryer. So I made the big collection and my hands are like this, and I'm walking out to my car and I was like, dump those in I got a pen jar in my bag. And I was like, you know what? I should find that number. I looked around for quite a bit. I ended up finding it in the car, tucked in underneath everything. So I'm glad it didn't get lost this last weekend with all the stuff going in and out of the car. But
that's one thing I like. One number for the whole series.
Number's the left side. I saw that. So that'll be interesting. Looking forward to that. And then on Sunday, we have Wheeling here. Any thoughts on Wheeling? You guys love Wheeling. I'm not going to say I don't love Wheeling. I do like Wheeling.
I wouldn't say I love Wheeling. It's just, it's another car.
A lot of people do.
It's another track. I mean, they're limited on the space that they can use just because of the environment that surrounds their area they use or they're allowed to use. So it's pretty much the same thing every year.
I have no memory of it. Like, I don't know that if I've raced it, I've maybe raced it once ever. I'm always officiating it. So this year, she didn't assign me to that. So I get to race it. And then I'll be officiating at Forge.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I thought to myself, I don't think I've ever seen you race it there.
Yeah. I might have a long time ago, but yeah, no, I think I raced Malus Basin. I think maybe that's what I'm thinking from that weekend.
Dude,
long ago.
Malus was awesome.
They haven't been in Wheeling for that long, have they? Maybe
4 years?
I say that long, but yeah, like
about
just
4 years.
Maybe one issue pre-pandemic.
2018, I think, was the first one. 2017.
So 18, 19.
2017.
Really?
I have photos from 2017 there.
Yeah, I guess they've been there a while, but to me, it seems like a new venue. You know, that's...
Well, pre-Malus Basin, it was at the Northbrook Park District on the big toboggan hill, and I raced that. That I was on the team that was assisting putting that on at the time. So
Malus was awesome. That track, man, like if you took what I knew about cyclocross today and you gave me that environment, I could kill you there.
Yeah.
I could literally, especially when you get over the basin.
A lot better. I could do a lot better there than I did when I was there.
I always thought that was cool. They had the sand and then the U-turn and then the sand again in the volleyball court. That was pretty cool.
That's a venue that would really rock a flyover.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Well, we're never going to get back in that venue. We tried to get back in that venue that one year.
Yeah.
We were looking for a last minute place. But I remember from Malus, I remember they brought in a rototiller to try to break up the sand. Mm-hmm. One year that it was freezing cold, like super, super cold. And I just remember I was trying to help them at one point, but they started it up and started running it, and the tines from the rototiller were just going ding, 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 like bouncing off of the top of the sand. It wouldn't even put a dent in it. So that ended up, I think they cut out the sand or they still ran over it, but it was like pavement.
Wow.
That's a race that's been canceled. That was canceled because of snow one year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's been brutally cold there, and historically that weekend.
Yeah, I only got to race there once.
Even in Wheeling, when they moved over to Wheeling, it's been cold. We used to say, maybe a year or two ago, we used to say the weather always turns in the series once you hit Wheeling. And that's usually the first weekend where it's nasty.
Well,
it's looking like it's going to be good.
Technically, our race weekend was the Wheeling weekend normally.
Everything kind of shifted.
So, yeah, we've been lucky this year. It's been
so far. Why
weird.
Did you have to say that?
It looks like it's going to be in the high in the 30s for Forge. So this weekend is high 50s. Forge is high 30s. So we're starting to get colder. Be interesting to see what Montrose
I'm going to say this here because I don't know. I don't have any of Jostein's contact information. So Jostein, if you're listening to this, you better have a plan B for those berms. Because if you
they get slick.
Yeah, you better have a plan B because if all day it stays slick, you have to have a different route.
It was bad last year in the morning when the frost was on it.
Yeah,
I remember that, and you could see the line where the sun would hit and kind of melt it as it went down, and it became rideable, thankfully. But I remember the first pre-lap, I slid down it and I messed up my hand for quite a while.
Yeah,
but I also ride like crap apparently. But no, I agree. He's made some changes this year. I know he's been working on it. There was a picture that he circulated, a month and a half, 2 months ago. And they were putting in what is in essence stairs. There's a section in the back where we went up this little hill and got onto the gravel road in the back of it, heading over like behind the berms. I think we cut around then and then hit the berms.
Yep.
But that little hill going up, I think they were putting stairs in. I think that's the location he was showing. I don't know for sure. And none of us will know until we get there. But I'm looking forward to that one. If it's going to be that cold, I'll maybe look forward to it a little less. But, I don't know what it is, man. I mean, I kind of like, you guys know Bill Shiken from CX Air's podcast. His saying is all weather is cyclocross weather, basically.
It's true.
And I agree with that. And I don't really have a problem with that. But he gets annoyed when people are like, oh, finally some cyclocross weather. Man, all weather is cyclocross weather.
I mean, it's a fact.
And I agree with that. But I go the opposite direction. And I go, I'm the guy that doesn't like the mud and the rain and doesn't like the super cold, Snow, I guess I'm fine with. It's just that, there are days where snow would probably be warmer than some of the stuff we go out in. So I just don't know. I don't like the mud. And I think it's the gearhead in me because it's like, there's so much crap now I got to do when I get home. Yeah. Or so much crap I'm going to have to fix of other people's. We didn't even have that much mud this last weekend. We had some. It rained a little bit over the night and there was some rain off and on through the day. But even with that,
the breeze dried it out.
Of mud. I saw a lot of mud on a lot of bikes. So,
yeah, I had a little bit just from pre-riding, but nothing substantial. Nothing like, I got to pull apart my free hub body and service that. Right. I have to pull out my bottom bracket and service the bearings. Nothing like that. Just a little bit on the down tube.
Now that we're talking about it, Silka came out with a video today, and it has to do with wax in very cold or very rainy environments. And I thought it was interesting. It's a good video to go and watch if you haven't watched it yet. And if you do wax at all using the Silka system, I highly advise that you go and do it. It immediately tripped me off, and I think we're going to start trying what he was talking about for cyclocross. Especially this time of year on, I think it's the right mix. So in essence, to boil it down, it's taking some oil, certain kinds of oil, but taking some oil and mixing it in with the wax when you wax your chains.
But it has to be a certain kind of oil,
and it's a very small percentage.
And it's a small, like 3 to 5% of the mix that's oil. But what it does is it softens the wax a little bit, so that when it gets really cold, because when it gets really cold, the wax just gets too hard, and then it doesn't do its job. So it keeps it a little bit more pliable. And helps it stick actually to the chain. The only downside is you get a little bit more, dirt will cling to it, but it's nowhere near as bad as just like a full-on wet lubed chain, obviously. So, it was kind of a hack that they somewhat stumbled upon, or just kind of dawned on them. They were like, oh, because they know the chemicals of the two things, and, they put it together, and I guess it works great.
It's a good video to go and watch, and I highly recommend it to anybody that's interested in this kind of stuff. But it was enough that afterwards I'm like, I'm going to get another pot and dedicate that one to that kind of activity, because that would also work for the fat bikes. So we're almost into fat bike season. I'm going to clean everything up and go with that for fat bikes this year. I think I'm going to change my setup on my fat bike this year because,
Tim needs a fat bike. Hey, anybody out there have a fat bike they want to let go of?
We're looking at what?
For a steal for
a 15,
Tim.
A 15, a small.
I don't know how fat bikes are measured.
They're mountain bikes. So like 15, 17, a small, 52, anything in that kind of frame range.
My mountain bike is a medium.
Is it?
I would say my first fat bike was a medium, and my second one was a small, just because of the geometry.
My mountain bike is a medium, but it rides like a small. So, I really don't know. I guess, optimally for off-road, I would like a small bike, which, my cross bike is smaller than my gravel bike, which is smaller than my road bike. All my bikes are different sizes. It's really goofy.
I don't remember. You have the exact same bike as me, but in a size smaller? Or the other way?
No, you have a small, right?
Yeah.
Mine was a medium, but I sold mine to Rick.
Yeah. And I did get a chance to ride it briefly after that big ride we did on the Plains River Trail. I hopped on it, and it did fit better. So I would be better off on a medium.
It was also a 27.5, and yours is a 26.
True. Yeah.
So the one I have now, that a 907, is a 26, and it's also a small. And it seems so utterly tiny, but once I got it set up and got the right size stem and everything on it, it's just right.
I rode the one you sold to Rick. I rode that around just a little bit, and I was like, this seems like it fits pretty good. Like minimal
so that
changing.
Was a Trek Farley.
Yeah.
Trek Farley and a medium.
Maybe a negative 30 stem, 110. Some, 680 mil bars. It'd be perfect.
Somebody out there needs to help them out.
Dropper post.
Dropper post.
Hell yeah.
I get
Sendy on this thing. If you put me on a fat bike, I'm not going to just like loaf around.
Most of if you're fat biking in snow, you're probably not going to have that kind of terrain to deal with it, unless you plan to ride the fat bike as a mountain bike, which some people do.
But I can tell you, by the time you get through like 1 acre, you're going to be like, I'm going back to a groomed trail. Riding groomed trails is amazing. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough, it's not like it's an easy ride, but going through fresh powder. Oh, dude, it's like trying to pull your own plow in the fields.
It's like trying to go for a jog in hip deep water or something. It's like, this is pointless.
Yeah. Your heart rate's pegged and you're going a half a mile an hour.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is not a fat bike podcast, but it will be for the next 2 months or so, by the way.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way it's going to go. And obviously I do this because I hate going in and riding on a trainer, although I do think that I probably need to do more trainer work in this off season if I want to make some gains.
The biggest thing for you, and I was thinking about you today, is based off of
I was thinking about you today.
No, you weren't.
No, actually I was.
What you had said earlier, as you want to race cyclocross as much as you can before the season ends. My opinion is you have to not let depressed Rob come out. Just stay active. Or not. I don't mean depressed Rob. I mean don't sit down for too long.
Yeah.
Stay active.
I get that.
Stay
it's
active.
okay to I always anticipate at the end of cross season, I go through a definite lull in mood.
Yeah.
When you come off of that and you're like, I don't get to go see my friends every weekend, and
now
what's
what?
the point? I need motivation.
Well,
anticipate that lull.
Yeah.
Know that it's temporary.
Yeah.
Be okay with it. give yourself permission to have a couple weeks after the end of cross season to spend time with your family, get caught up on things that need to get done, but then know that you at a certain point get back into a plan.
If Julie listened to this podcast, she'd be your biggest fan right now. But I've got to personally, what we did last year, we started doing like weird group rides, like long rides where we all got together and we went like the Des Plaines River Trail for one.
Yeah.
And then the one like pre-Christmas that was in your area where we did that big road ride or whatever.
Right.
That's the stuff that kept me riding on days I wouldn't have normally gone out and ridden.
Mm-hmm.
So and we got in this habit of doing meetups and like small group rides. Weren't massive or anything or big, huge undertakings.
Mm-hmm.
We got out and rode in Paul Douglas a couple times on fat bikes. So
this is the approach that I take. And I think you can do this too, is I'm watching the weather like a hawk. And I know that every weekend, unless it's just absolutely abominable weather, I want to try to get in some sort of a ride, whether it's me, myself, going out to Paul Douglas on my fat bike and just riding zone 2 for 3 hours.
There's no zone 2 on a fat bike.
At Paul Douglas, you can.
On the west side,
it's groomed. Yeah. It's pretty flat, so you can just like ride around. Yeah, you got some spots where you got to go up a hill, whatever. But it's it's like, okay, either I'm planning some sort of a group ride because it looks like it's going to be decent weather to get on pavement and go for a road, or get some fun group together to go do something, or I'm just going to make a commitment that at least once every week, as much as possible, because there's going to be the occasional weeks where it just doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
But just like say every week, make a plan, start watching the weather Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and start refining the plan. Who's doing what this weekend? Hey, anybody want to get together at DPRT and go ride fat bikes? Because the snow's not deep but it's going to be cold. So, start putting that stuff together.
I can easily get into that. And I got into it last year and it kept me riding through the whole winter. That fat bike race in, what was it, January? Was that January when the fat bike race was?
The one at Forge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So knowing that that's coming will keep me geared up. It's little stuff like that will definitely keep, and it's because you're changing gears. You're onto a different bike. You're onto riding a different way. You're doing different stuff. You have different goals. And that kind of kept me riding through the whole season this year when I was like, I'm just going to put as much time in as I possibly can when I possibly can. And I want to go for long rides, and that got me through the whole year. And I ended up riding a ton that way. So if I keep that up, and I did all that this year with the idea in mind that I was going to, try as hard as I could. Well, not as hard as I could, but try harder during cross season this year. So I easily acknowledge I didn't go as hard as I could, but
What do you think is gonna? What do you think will motivate you for next year, Rob? Like outside of cross season, what do you see yourself doing?
Gravel. A lot of gravel stuff. Okay. And by gravel, I mean like rough road. Barry. I already signed up for Barry. That reg opened while we were at our race. And I think it was like an hour before the start of my race, and I was geared up. I happened to walk into the tent, and everybody went, "Reg for Barry!" And I got it done real quick. So that's in, and I've got that on the calendar. That gives me stuff to already plan for. By the time Barry's done, whatever comes along,
I'd like to go do that. That one in Southern Illinois again.
Thought about what Illinois? Not Illinois.
No, it's not Mid-South. It's
Dirty South.
Dirty South.
But that fills up, doesn't it?
It does. It does close up quick. So I don't think Reg is open.
I thought it is.
Is it?
Yeah. I thought it was. I think somebody was talking about it the other day.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Even the ride the 10,000. Even if I don't do it during the event. Just getting out in that area and riding gravel, I think would be a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, I do have a set of 40 or 42 millimeter tires sitting on the shelf ready for me to put on. So we'll see how that goes.
Dirty South.
Yeah. When is it?
I can't.
You can't find it real
Dirty South
quick.
through Bay. Never mind. I found it.
But anyway, I don't want to keep talking about
March 1st, Alto Pass, Illinois. I can't.
Yeah, you find the reg for that. See if it's still open. If that page is still open. I don't want to keep changing gears, dude. It's cross season. We still have nationals coming up. You got nationals in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, right?
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4
which
weeks.
will be, I want to say, the week after my birthday.
Yes. It's like the 12th through the 15th, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my race is on the 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the week after my birthday. My birthday where I will be turning 50. So this is going to be my play when talking to my wife about me going to nationals. It will be my birthday present for me to be able to go. It is a massive birthday present for me to be able to go and help out in the pits, because I want to help you in the pits, and I want to help you in the pits, and I want to help Katie in the pits, and anybody else that we know that's going. So
Tim, have you talked to many people that you know are going? Does it seem like we have locals heading down there?
No, the only thing I get is, are you going to nationals? That's it. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know too many, but I assume it'd be, from our area, probably a good 20 people, probably.
I would say at least, because I know a lot of those Masters guys do go. The 50s, 60s, 70s, in those ranges, they do go.
Yeah, and you'll have like the Kurth boys, they'll go down there.
Yeah.
You'll have some, Katie,
I don't know how many they're going to take down there with the SLS team.
Roscoe's going to go.
Yeah.
So there'll be quite a few. I mean, I will say, if you were eager to try a nationals, now would be your best bet, because nobody knows where the next iterations of nationals are, and Kentucky's only 7 hours away.
Yeah.
And
it's always a good idea to go. Even if you're not going to race, it's always a good idea to go, even to see the venue, see what a nationals production looks like, what the competition is like.
Yeah, that would be my advice. If you've never done a national level event or a national championship event, go and have zero expectation. Go and find out what it's like to race a national championship event, to see what the vibe is, to see what you need to do to prepare, to see how you need to prepare, to see how the pressure is. And the pressure comes in many different ways. So go and experience that if you haven't, and then go for it the following year if it's somewhere you could make it to.
Yeah. I would add a small disclaimer. If you're going to go and try to race it, even if you're not doing the championship races, I don't know how many non-championship races they have there anymore. I think they took those out for the most part.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go there to race it, and you are, say, doing a Masters age group, and you don't really care about your result that much, whatever, I would highly advise you not to race it unless you're going to take at least a B bike. It's one of the few times in this sport that I say you have to have a B bike. Otherwise, the plan on racing it could go very horribly wrong very quickly. And it's a lot of money to travel, and it's a lot of money to register and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't have to have a top end B bike, it doesn't have to be a complete match to your A bike or anything else like that. But having another bike that you can get on or resort to when all hell breaks loose with one of them. I have been to too many large scale events and seeing riders come up and go, with eyes that big going, do you know anyone that's got an extra bike that I can use? Or do you have an extra derailleur around? Or because things happen. Happen.
Have spare derailleur hangers, have a spare bike of some sort, like you said. Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty squared away.
You are, yeah.
I need to get some muds glued up before I head down there.
I know a guy.
They may never get used. Who knows? I may not even need them. I haven't needed anything that aggressive this whole season. So,
well, honestly, I've got some muds already glued up. They just happen to be 38s. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I can't use those. Anyway, Dirty South Reg opens December 1st.
Well, there you go. That would be, is that Montrose? Or is Montrose the next weekend?
Montrose is like December 12th or something.
7th? It's the 7th, I think.
7th.
Or 8th. It would be the 8th.
That's 8th. It's the Sunday before the Nationals week.
Yep. It's the Sunday of Nationals week.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. So you go to Montrose, we got basically 3 days and then travel. You probably have 2 days and then travel.
Or you just skip Montrose and put all your eggs in the Nationals basket.
I wish there was a race Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, right.
It would be really cool if, like, I don't know, Jingle would come back, because that's the weekend it would be. Well, can you imagine if they had Jingle this year?
Oh God, yeah, it would be amazing.
Why don't we have one?
I mean, we could do a bandit something. I know Rick. That's always the weekend that Rick and Region did their race, but they lost that venue.
Yeah.
They have a potential new venue, but it's not going to happen this year. So,
well, and there's another venue that's been talking to me. It's actually the venue has contacted me, and they're trying to set up a race and get into the series, which I've tried to tell them is not going to happen.
Was that Libertyville?
Yeah, I think so. Libertyville or Grays Lake or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, another addition to the series would be phenomenal.
But the outside of that, maybe before that, the last time I had a venue come to me and ask me, how to put on a race,
never.
That was Norgie.
Oh, Norgie did?
Norgie
they came
did
to
that.
you?
They came to me. Oh. Now, it wasn't Norgie proper. It was a Norgie Ski Club, which is a different organization within the Norgie structure. But yeah, they came to us and asked us to teach them how to put on a race and try to get it into the series. We ran it for a few years, and then it got to the point where the Norgie proper, the club over it, Norgie Ski Training Center and Norgie Ski Club. I think Norgie Ski Club was the group that owned the property, and the Norgie Ski Training Center were the ones that approached us. The ski club kept going, hey, what are we getting out of this? And so they kept ratcheting up their rental fee for the facility. And our numbers were, they stabilized at maybe 200 riders at the max. And then we're going down to like 150, 120. And then it was becoming like a crit. So once you get into those kind of numbers where they're that low and you're getting charged $1,500 just to be there, it's like,
not worth it.
Yeah. So we gave it up, and then that weekend went to there was a couple years where, oh God, I can't remember the name of the shop, but a shop went and did like a bandit style, but they ran the CCC gear and did it. They did that like 2 years. I think PJ was setting that one up, and then we had the route out at the fairgrounds in Indiana, Region Riot Cross. And with Rick's group, and then PJ designed the course the last year, and it went through all sorts of areas that the groundskeeper had told them to keep off of, and the groundskeeper said that was it, and they're no longer doing it. So
good job, PJ.
So we can say that PJ has effectively killed 2 off-brand races, but sorry, PJ, I'm not really saying that.
Course killer.
I got to pull my Brad Dash out. You know what I'm saying. You know what I mean.
Hey.
All right. The closest race that is a USAC race in that weekend is Missouri.
Not going there.
I'm not going to Missouri to race cyclocross.
St. Louis. So if anybody really wants to race locally here on December 1st.
Well, everybody who's listening, do us a favor. If you are going to go to nationals this year, go ahead and send us an email. The email is roadisdead@gmail.com. Once again, all one word, roadisdead@gmail.com. Write in, let us know that you're going to go to nationals, what race you're doing. We'll keep an eye out for you if we do head down that way. If I head down that way, these 2 are heading down that way. But give us a heads up. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like for us to... You haven't registered yet?
I haven't either. No. Because...
Oh, why? Yeah, why register if you don't need to?
Why register if you... So I pay an extra $10 to register a little bit later. I mean, what if something happens that prevents me from going?
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's not like I get a refund on that. My Airbnb is booked because I know I can get a refund on that pretty close to the event. Yeah. So, no, I don't know. Your race would be Friday, Tim. If you go, you're Friday, right?
Or Friday Thursday? At high noon.
Friday at noon. Kind of like me. I'm at 11:40 on Sunday.
Like Darcy asked me this morning. She's like, "Are you doing it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. There's just like some roadblock in my head I can't get past."
I get it.
I don't
make it a game day decision, man. Just...
if I go down,
I'll be back. I'll be back in 28 hours.
Yeah.
Register. Obviously, you got to get registered before it actually closes, so you get a call up. But
yeah. I don't know. It's like I don't like all the paranoia that I put into it. It's just like
there's no pressure. Yeah. Whether you do it or you don't, who cares?
No,
there's pressure for you.
There's
I
pressure
understand
for me.
that. I don't want to say
that's all. It's all self-induced.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at. I guess it's hopefully you realize that anybody that is listening to this or anybody associated with any of our organizations has zero expectations for you in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, I know.
This is you. This is you. You have your own expectations.
I understand what he means.
Yeah.
Like, we will love you every bit as much if you finish 10th.
Yeah.
Oh, I might love him more, but
I mean,
it's not what you go to an event like that for,
I've thought a lot, real hard on this, and I came to the realization that I really wanted to put my eggs in the basket of nationals, and I really wanted to do the preparation, and I wanted to do it right, have the equipment, and do all this stuff. But it's really not about nationals. No. I just wanted to have a purpose to keep me motivated through the fall and into December. And if I'm standing on a podium or I'm DNF because I break or something like that, I don't really care what happens in the race. I mean, I do, obviously. Right. I'm doing everything to give myself the best possible chance of a good race. Yeah. But if at the end of the day I don't, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, that worked for nothing. It's like, no, all the work was worth it.
That's a great perspective, Definitely. And part of me is like also thinking, you took a year off. You're kind of just getting back into the swing of things here. I don't feel like I'm in the best form. I mean, I could go and I think I could compete. I think I could make a difference or be a difference maker or a race maker, whether it ends up, on the wide angle podium or not at all. But then half of me is like, do I just skip it and like go full throttle next year for nationals? I'd like put Pan Am's on the radar. Put Masters Worlds on the radar.
That would be cool. I'm not going to say you don't do those things. I think those things are awesome, and you should definitely think about doing those things. I say you go and just go full bore. Whatever happens, happens. I will tell you this: if you go and go full bore and you don't win, then believe it or not, that opens up every other race from that point on. Because now you could win, you could not win. Yeah. You've already established that. So who cares?
Yeah.
And then he can come in.
I care. That's the problem.
I know, but then he can come in with maybe a little less. Like if you think about it, if you don't win, and then you go to a national, say the next year, you've won one, you haven't won one.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, some of my best races are races where I'm literally inside of 2 minutes to go going, I really don't care what happens.
Yeah.
Those have been my best races.
I think the races where I get shellacked by my competition are the ones that make me hungry.
Oh,
dig in deeper. So I love getting my ass handed to me by these younger women in these category races. I could race masters, but I'm just like, no, I want to get beat up. I want that. Because it keeps me hungry.
I guess I'm a sandbagger because I want to go find the softest fields that I can race in and go race those. Guess I'm a sandbagger.
Speaking of sandbagging, has our sandbagging like come and gone?
Yeah, they apparently. It looks like that shut down at least for the time. Yeah, like all good things now, you can't have them because people just don't get it or don't take the joke too far or say it wasn't a joke or whatever.
That was fun.
Well, like we said during the last one, I liked it, but some people did it the wrong way, and it was a very wrong way. So
that's a shame.
We don't condone that at all in any way, shape, or form. But the anonymous sandbagger call out, I do think has a place. But the place is like we've discussed. The place is
Porta-John.
Well, yeah, and hey, this person's got 40 mandatory upgrade points.
Yeah.
Well, and somebody said that a bunch of people in Wisconsin were forced to upgrade.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, obviously somebody contacted, or at least enough somebodies that were loud enough into USAC's ear is like, come on. What's going on here? They're racing again.
Like
it's
the WCA. Somebody within the WCA spent a lot of time pushing that with USA Cycling.
Yeah.
They made it a point. You shared that story they have on Instagram today.
Yeah.
Where they said, hey, you need to upgrade.
I will
say I got a data point from
But public shaming is not maybe the best approach. There's a process you can go through. You can talk to USAC, drop them a line, and just say, hey, you need to take a look. This person's way over the mandatory.
I will say, let's see. I sat through the USA Cycling meeting for LA's not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, and they put up an upgrade chart and said what proportion was from road, cross, whatever. There have been way more upgrades this year than there was last year in general.
That's good.
And from July through October, the numbers they normally take this like dip during the off season, then road pops up, and this time they have flattened out and they have just been chugging along with upgrades. And the last 2 months, cross has taken over the lion's share of all the upgrades, and there's been way more than any of the previous years.
That's awesome. That's good. That's a good.
I'd be curious
that's a good thing.
to know how much of those were elective versus forced.
That would be good. That would be good. I don't mean it's never a nice thing to force someone to do it, but I think if you're eligible, give it a shot. You won't be disappointed. Yeah, you might get smoked for a few races, but you'll learn.
If they're going to have a mandatory points for upgrading, then they need to enforce it. Otherwise, just get rid of it.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, if you don't have a rule, if you're not going to enforce it.
Right. Yeah, fully.
Can't disagree with that. Well, if you have any thoughts on the matter, go ahead and send us an email at roadisdead@gmail.com. Also, if you have any topics you would like for us to discuss, send them to us here at roadisdead@gmail.com. If you need some chamois cream, go out and buy some buttonhole chamois cream at your finest local retailer, and always chime in if you want to be entered into our drawing to get a free jar of chamois cream. Remember to do that, you have to send an email to roadisdead@gmail.com and put your address in there along with your full name. There are some people that just send the address and don't have their name in there, and they don't realize that their email name doesn't match their real name. I don't know, man. Some people, but maybe now we know why upgrades aren't happening when they were supposed to.
They're trying to upgrade with their Instagram account.
Right.
Yeah, and let us know if you're going to nationals. It would be nice to see a show of hands from our listeners.
Yeah,
absolutely. Anything else? Anybody got? Go and wax or lube your chain. Check your cleats.
Check your cleats for sure. For sure.
And make sure your helmet doesn't have any huge dents in it. And enjoy the ride.